Hey there, now today I'd like to talk to you about how you actually suggest things to yourself without realizing it that could actually be damaging you and your results. You see, continuously we have self-talk. We create internal images in our mind and we begin to think about life. And those thoughts become our evaluation. Our focus becomes our evaluation as to what's happening and where we're heading. Now, the quality of those thoughts in the positive will dictate your results. Now, most of the time, we tend to have negative thoughts or negative ideas because we're wired up that way. I mean, many generations back, we had to look after ourselves. We had to protect ourselves. We had to be looking out for everything around the next corner to make sure we survive. So we used to pre-plan of all the things which could happen that might get in our way or cause us an issue. Now, in today's age, we do not need that as much. Sure, we need that survival mechanism, but maybe are we doing the self-talk or having thoughts of all the things we don't want? And are those thoughts actually creating issues in our life or stopping us live the life that we desire, having that emotional freedom? So at the end of the day, whatever you're continuously thinking about, your unconscious mind searches for more of it. I mean, and it's almost like when you decide to buy a brand new car, you see that make and model everywhere because your brain is geared up to look for things like that. So are we suggesting things to our unconscious mind in an unhelpful way? Because at the end of the day, we must assume responsibility for the thoughts that we have. And if we can change our thoughts and redirect our thoughts, we're able to be able to get a different set of results. At the end of the day as well, we're here, right now, to get back into rapport with ourselves. Because I believe that people have issues because they're out of rapport with their own unconscious mind, their own mind and body. And it's up to us to be able to educate and suggest a new way of being. That's the great thing about hypnosis. It's about retraining how your mind works to get it to work for you. But on the other hand, it's very important to be able to know this consciously. Because when we go through life, we don't at first know about our issue. Before you began to learn to walk, you didn't even know what walking was until you began to see in your reality people walking around you. So most of the time, the first step of learning is just being oblivious to actually having an issue. We don't know what we don't know after all. And then the second stage is when we become consciously aware that something's not quite right. So you become consciously aware that actually I don't like this anxiety, or I don't like this process, and I'm going to seek help to be able to let it go. I'm going to read books, I'm going to listen to hypnosis, I'm going to seek out a practitioner of some sort, I'm going to watch this video. We begin to become conscious that something is not quite right in our body. So that's the second step. Now the third step is when we begin to consciously apply the things that we're learning, whether it be through downloads, books, practitioners, again, training seminars, whatever it is, we begin to start applying it. And then over a period of time, it becomes the fourth stage, which is becoming unconsciously competent at it. So if we just backtrack to the one prior to that, it's like learning to drive. You get in the car for the first time and it's very hard. You've got to consciously do things and you're trying to piece all the information together and it seems very kind of clunky and it doesn't seem very flowing. I know when I first started to drive, I had so many things to pay attention to that it wasn't a smooth ride at first. But guess what? The more times you begin to drive, the more it becomes second nature, which is that fourth stage of where things start to work for you on your terms. It's almost like you've done it so many times consciously, your unconscious mind assumes responsibility for doing it for you. Now here's the thing. Going back to what I first said, our suggestions to ourselves, our focus, the thoughts that we have, that's that third stage of consciously doing things, and then the fourth stage is when your unconscious mind does it for you. So we have to pay attention of what suggestions we're giving our unconscious mind. If we're saying to ourselves, why am I like this? Or why do I always fail when going to approach men or women? Or why do I fail in interviews? Whatever it is, fill in the blank. Your unconscious mind will seek out past scenarios to give you reasons as to why you are like you are. Now, what does that do? That reaffirms the situation. So the nature of saying, why am I like this? Why can't I change? Your mind begins to look and seek out those answers just to reaffirm things. So we must step up and take responsibility to assume new suggestions, new thoughts that we can actually direct our unconscious mind, where we can educate our unconscious mind to getting a new way of being. So the first step is to ask the right questions. So rather, why am I like this? We ask, how can I do things differently? How can I succeed in this? And guess what? I mean, just try that on. Ask this question to yourself, why am I like fill in the blank? You automatically have reasons. Now ask the same question, or a different question, of how can I do things differently? How can I let go of this? How can I change? You begin to send your thoughts in a new direction. You're seeking out good answers here and good responses. So we've got to be very conscious of the type of thoughts we're suggesting to our unconscious mind. At the end of the day, it's going to respond to those suggestions. So if you have lots of self-hate or lots of guilt and you're kind of berating yourself, you're going to get more of it. Your unconscious mind thinks that's a normal way. It's going to get into that fourth step of, I will do it for you unconsciously. If you keep on berating yourself, I'll unconsciously berate yourself full time. So it's up to us to make a decision today to start communicating with ourselves far more profoundly and positively. Now, at first, we've got those old patterns and habits, so it takes a bit of time. But as you start to do this, it gets easier. You remember when you start to learn to drive, it starts to get easier. You got to catch yourself to make sure you're looking at the mirrors, the speedometer, but after a while, it gets a lot easier. So the more times you do this with consistency, and you suggest to your unconscious mind a new way of being of how you would like to be, or maybe asking it to learn from something, or how can I do this, and actually projecting what you want in your life to focus on your desires, then you are beginning to be able to get your unconscious mind to work for you. That's the way that we should be talking to ourselves, suggesting to our unconscious mind there's another way of doing it. We've got to educate it in a way that is loving, which is supportive, which is also directive, okay? So we've got to be conscious of our language to direct it into the right place. When we do, it will respond. It can take time, but it will get through to your unconscious mind. And when you do that, you start to experience more emotional freedom in every way possible. You begin to actually automatically look for answers or find the answers far quicker than ever before. So we have to really step up and be conscious of what we're doing. That third step. So we're consciously applying this information for then to hand it over to the unconscious mind. Then we do that, we get back into rapport, and it actually works on our terms, and it actually does things on our behalf in a positive way compared to that old negative way. So I hope you enjoyed that tip. At the end of the day, as I said, we've got to be conscious. We've got to really be conscious of our language and direct our thoughts and our feelings and our focus to where we need to be. And if anything, just focus on feeling good. I mean, if you focus on feeling good as your priority, behaviors will begin to actually come up because of that. Because I know sometimes it's hard to catch ourselves changing our thoughts or directing our thoughts. So if anything, just focus on the things that make you feel good. That should be your priority, and then the new behaviors, the answers, and the learnings will start to come into place. So have a wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. Many thanks and goodbye.